The secret ways avoidants try to come back without saying it. An avoidant who wants you back moves like a ghost, present enough to be felt, distant enough to deny. They won't knock on your door with flowers or send long paragraphs about their mistakes. Instead, they'll orchestrate accidents, manufacture coincidences, and build bridges so subtle you'll question if they exist at all. Because for someone who spent their whole life running from intimacy, wanting you back feels like drowning. And they're trying to swim back to shore without admitting they're in the water. One of the first things an avoidant does when they want you back is they start appearing in your orbit again. This may sound like stalking, but it's not that direct. For someone who once needed space like air, suddenly being in the same places as you is a calculated risk. They'll show up at the coffee shop you always want together, not every day, but just enough to create possibility. They'll attend that mutual friend's party they would have skipped before. They'll like an old photo on your social media at 11 p.m., then panic and unlike it, hoping you didn't notice, but you did, and they know you did. To an avoidant, these small invasions of your space are their way of saying, I'm still here, without having to say anything at all. Another sign is how they start testing the waters through mutual friends. Avoidants are masters of indirect communication, and when they want you back, they become intelligence gatherers. Oh, how's everyone doing? Even Sarah? They'll drop your name like it's nothing special, but they're hanging on every word of the response. They want to know if you're dating someone new, if you seem happy, if you ever mention them. But here's the thing, they'll never ask you directly. Don't get confused by these indirect check-ins through friends. Until they reach out to you directly, you don't actually have clarity. That would require vulnerability they're not ready for. Instead, they'll piece together your life from fragments, building a picture of whether there's still space for them. They also start fixing things they broke, but without acknowledging they broke them. Remember that project you two talked about starting together? Suddenly they're doing it solo and making sure you know about it. That book you recommended months ago? They're posting quotes from it now. They're becoming the person you wanted them to be. But they're doing it at a safe distance, hoping you'll notice a change without them having to admit they changed for you. It's their way of saying, look, I heard you, without the messiness of an actual conversation. Another thing avoidants do when they secretly want you back is they start sending mixed signals that would confuse anyone else, but you know them well enough to decode. They'll text you something practical, maybe about mail that still comes to their place or returning something you left behind. But the conversation lingers longer than necessary. They'll ask how your mom's surgery went, remembering details from months ago. They'll make a joke only you two would understand. Then, just when the conversation starts feeling warm, they'll disappear mid-text. 3 days later, they're back with another practical reason to reach out. These aren't random moments of contact. They're carefully controlled doses of connection, testing how much closeness they can handle without running away again. You'll also notice they become strangely protective of your past together. If someone criticizes you in their presence, they'll defend you, even though you're not together anymore. They'll keep photos of you two on their phone, buried in folders but not deleted. When mutual friends bring up your name, they don't change the subject as fast as they used to. They might even share a memory, quickly, quietly, like they're allowing themselves just a taste of what was. You can test this safely by dropping one neutral memory. If they respond with their own, the connection door is opening again. If they ignore it, they're still closed off. For someone who typically erases a past to avoid pain, this preservation is significant. They're not ready to let go, even if they can't admit they want to hold on. But here's something even more telling. They start creating problems that need your specific solution. Suddenly, they need advice about something only you would understand. Their car breaks down near your neighborhood. They have an extra ticket to that concert you mentioned loving 6 months ago, and wouldn't it be a waste not to use it? These aren't coincidences. Avoidants are strategic when they want something, and what they want is an excuse to be near you. That doesn't require them to say, I miss you. They need plausible deniability, a reason that protects their pride while opening a door. Don't rush to rescue them. Only step in when they make a direct ask. That way you're rewarding secure communication, not rewarding games. So they manufacture these moments, hoping you'll step through that door without them having to hold it open. They also start showing you their growth, but in the most indirect ways possible. Remember how they used to shut down during emotional conversations? Now they're posting articles about emotional intelligence. Remember how they couldn't handle your need for consistency? Suddenly, they're the most reliable friend in their circle, and they're making sure this information gets back to you. They're good at therapy, but mentioning it casually, like it's no big deal. They're doing the work you begged them to do, But they're doing it now when you're not around to witness the struggle. It's their way of becoming worthy of you without having to admit they weren't before. Real change isn't proven by posts or quotes. It's shown in how they act under pressure. If they respond differently in stressful moments, that's when you know the change is real. When an avoidant wants you back, they also start experiencing something that terrifies them, jealousy that they can't hide anymore. Before, they could pretend not to care who you spent time with. Now, if they hear you're dating someone new, their whole energy shifts. They won't confront you about it, but they'll suddenly become more present in your life. Those random texts increase. They'll post more on social media, looking happier than ever. But it's performative. Another sign is how they start rewriting history. The avoidant who once minimized your relationship to protect themselves suddenly remembers everything differently. They'll tell mutual friends that the breakup was mutual when you know they push you away. They'll say they just needed time to figure things out. They're trying to create a version of the past where the door isn't completely closed, where their actions were temporary mistakes instead of relationship-ending choices. They need to believe there's still a chance, so they're editing the story to make reconciliation possible. Here's where it gets really interesting. They start breaking their own rules. The avoidant who never double-texted suddenly sends you 3 messages in a row at 2 a.m., probably after a few drinks lowered their defenses. They delete them by morning, but you already saw them. They might show up at your door after swearing they'd give you space. They might call you crying, something they never did even when you were together. These moments of raw emotion are quickly followed by withdrawal and embarrassment, but they're significant. Their entire system of self-protection is failing, because wanting you back is stronger than their need to stay safe. They also develop a sudden interest in your future that they never showed before. When you were together, talking about next year felt like pressure to them. Now they're asking mutual friends about your 5-year plan. They want to know if you're planning to stay in the city, if you're serious about that job in another state, if there's room in your future for plot twists. The best way to decode it? Ask directly. What made you ask about that? A genuine answer reveals intention better than vague curiosity. They're not asking because they're ready to plan a future together. They're asking because the thought of you having a future without them is unbearable. But they still can't say that directly. So they gather intelligence, looking for signs that time hasn't run out. And here's one of the most painful truths about avoidants who want you back. They often love you more after you're gone than they ever could when you were there. The distance gives them safety to feel everything they suppressed. Now they can miss your laugh without fearing you'll ask for more emotional availability. They can appreciate your patience without feeling suffocated by your needs. They can want you without the terror of having you. So they live in this limbo, wanting you back but terrified of what that means, reaching for you in half measures and hoping somehow that will be enough. If you start noticing these signs, remember this. Avoidants rarely make a big, direct comeback. They prefer half steps, safe distances, and mixed signals. That means your power lies in how you respond. The healthiest strategy is patience and clarity. Don't get pulled into puzzles, and don't reward inconsistency. Look for a real pattern over several weeks. Steady communication, direct requests, and behavior that matches their words. A one-time gesture doesn't mean much, but repeated effort, emotional follow-through, and consistent presence do. If that shows up and you still want them back, move slowly into conversation about what has to be different this time. If it doesn't, protect your peace and let closure be your gift to yourself. Either way, you're not at the mercy of their fear. You are in control of the choice, and your heart deserves both clarity and respect.